Well, hello to my Caribbean moms. I'm coming to you live from Jamaica. I'm Emprezz Golding, and today I have something special for you and the family. Today we are all going to commit to becoming recycling champions. That's right. That's the focus of this episode, becoming a recycling champion. My special guest today is Damien King, chairman of the Recycling Partners of Jamaica. In this episode, we talk all things recycling and sustainability. We give practical and actionable advice to women who are motivated to become active recyclers and introduce a recycling regime in their household so that they can put plastic in its place and save Jamaica's beautiful environment. And of course, saving the Caribbean's beautiful environment, actually saving the planet. So we want to get our children involved. And I'm a mom. Okay, so before we get started, let me just remind you I'm a mom of two, and I'm excited to have this conversation to see how I can, take from here some tips and tricks to share with my household. So we want to welcome my special guest, Damien King. Welcome to Caribbean Moms. How are you?
Great. Thank you, Empress. I'm thrilled to be here. I'm a dad of three, but my wife says she is a mother of four because she's counting me in that list.
So let me start again. I'm a mama of three. That's right. We want to get our men involved, and that's why we can't be moms without our daddies and our men. So thank you. I'm so glad to have a man on the show as well to help look at recycling and making it sexy, right? For the kids. Well, sexy for the kids, sexy for the moms, and yeah. What for the kids now?
Absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely. Because
making.
Empress, this is a campaign.
Mhm.
It's a movement. It's something that previous generations, I guess with smaller populations, and when the problem was less obvious, the consequences less obvious, you could sort of get away with not being completely responsible with disposing of your waste. But I don't think this generation can get away with that anymore. And so we have to see it as a national movement, as a regional movement for us to do better.
Yeah. Before we look into the work of the Recycling Partners of Jamaica, if you could explain in layman's terms the reason why we should care and also the dangers if we don't do things now. What will the world, what will Jamaica, what will the Caribbean look like in the next 10 years if we don't get involved? How grave is it?
Well, you talk about the dangers and the consequences. If when you're at home and you drank something that comes in a plastic bottle, and while you're sitting on your porch or your veranda or your patio, you kind of just tossed it behind you into the living room, and then 15 minutes later you get up and you walk inside, you would see the consequence of you are not disposing of it properly. That's what happens in the Caribbean, except the distance and the time are just a little bit stretched out. You throw it into a gully or you throw it outside the car window or the bus window,
Hmm.
and 2 weeks later, you go to the beach, you take your family, and that bottle has washed up on the beach. Or if it's not 2 weeks later, that bottle has disintegrated into microparticles, and you order some fish and bami on the beach, and it's in the fish you're eating. So the consequence is for you, and the consequence is real. You just need to make that connection.
Okay, so plastic is a major problem in our world, in our communities. And, education begins in the home. So we moms have to have some information at hand and some creative methods to deal with this plastic danger, right, with our children. So that is why we are here, a part of why we're here. But Damien King, tell me why you took on the role as chairman. Why is this dear to your heart? And tell me the role and the function of the Recycling Partners of Jamaica.
Okay, well, I took it on because Recycling Partners of Jamaica, as it is now constituted, actually came out of research that was done by the Caribbean Policy Research Institute, with which I'm affiliated. Capri produced this report on how to manage plastic waste in the Caribbean, and one of its recommendations was a deposit refund scheme. So, when the government and the private sector in Jamaica, the Jamaica Manufacturers and Exporters Association, decided to put together a corporate vehicle to take responsibility for plastic recycling, they asked me to, to become the chairman so that our proposals could become part of the execution. So that was my interest. It was established to be the state agency, a charity actually, to encourage and execute and facilitate plastic recycling. So over the last 3 years, we've been carrying out that exercise, and we've been putting in place the infrastructure to be able to get Jamaicans in on this.
So tell me the role now of the schools in educating the children and getting them to become active recyclers, and what is the conversation with the schools?
It's funny you should mention that, because when we started, we realized that the schools were a critical institution for getting this message across. And so, in addition to all of the other activities in which we are engaged, we have a schools program where we go to the schools, we sign them up as official recyclers, which means whatever we collect from the schools actually goes to the school's account. They get paid for the plastic, and we give them information material. We give them a recycling cage, and we clear those cages on a regular basis. So, and we have a program that guides the schools on how to encourage recycling. So the schools are a critical part of our approach. And as you've intuited from your question, schools are a critical institution in terms of getting people into the habit.
Yeah. Damien, when I was living in Australia, I remember we would take out our garbage and we had one bin at home for plastics and recyclable materials, and the other one was for disposable waste. I don't see that here in Jamaica. I don't know what the rest of the Caribbean looks like, but it would be a great exercise to say, hey, kids, the plastic goes here and this goes here, and we roll out the bin to the front. Can
Yeah.
do we have enough solid waste trucks to be able to facilitate that, or does the Recycling Partners of Jamaica have enough trucks to be able to come and pick up the recycled bins?
Okay. So when I was not living in Australia, it occurred to us that the way to go about this is to have households take on that responsibility inside the home rather than at the curb. So the first step in recycling is separating at home, separating between plastic waste and the rest of your trash and garbage. Now, in very few communities is the plastic going to be collected at curbside. So a critical part of our effort is to have recycling cages that we are placing throughout the country. We've placed over 300 so far, but given the size of the country, 300 doesn't even get near to being ubiquitous, not to the extent that we intend to be. But
Hmm.
the idea is that you're going to take your plastic bottles that you've put into a bag, and you're going to take it to the nearest cage in which you can deposit it, and Recycling Partners of Jamaica clears the cages. Now we are trying to, since we don't have cages throughout the island yet, we are trying to put cages in locations that are convenient for people along their normal commuting routes. So we're focusing, as we mentioned before, schools, uh, gas stations, churches, and directly in the largest residential communities.
So I like that advice. One tip for us moms is to start at home and separate. Find a bin, find a place where you put all the plastic together, and then we pick it up. And where do we find out where the locations are, Damien? So we know that, every week or every 2 weeks we're going to drive as a family and drop it off. How do we find the locations? 300 plus.
Go to our website, recyclingja.com, and all the locations of the cages island-wide are on that website. And you can easily find the one that's nearest to you. And you get lots of other good information on that website, so I encourage everybody to pay a visit.
Excellent. Can we look at some of the items in the home real quick together that would be considered, right? Recyclable plastic. So we have bottles. What else?
Okay, so Recycling Partners of Jamaica focuses on plastic bottles
Hmm.
and only two types of plastic bottles. So here's the second tip, that when you turn over a plastic item, a bottle or a container, you're going to see a number inside of a triangle of arrows, and that indicates the kind of plastic. So I happen to have a bottle here with me. So if you
Interesting.
look at the bottom of the bottle,
Mm-hmm.
you are going to see that triangular symbol with arrows, and it will say either one or two or three or four or five. That tells you the kind of plastic. Type 1 is PET. Type 2 is HDPE. Those are the most common kinds of plastic. And those are the ones that RPJ is primarily interested in recycling. But if you are in doubt, if it's plastic, keep it separate.
Great advice there. Okay, so let's look at Jamaica now. Some of the facts and stats around the current state of play we're looking at the uptake of recycling. Are we there yet? Or do we have to do a lot more? And what educational marketing material have you been putting out there for Jamaicans to get involved in this?
I have good news and I have bad news.
Which one do
The
I
good
want
news,
first? Hold on. Okay, good. Yes.
the good news is that we are now collecting a whole lot of plastic. We are collecting something close to 125 million bottles per year.
Wow.
And what we are collecting now is overwhelming our present capacity. I say that almost apologetically because we should have been putting capacity in place much, much faster and more
Mm.
aggressively. However, that 125 million bottles a year, roughly, is only a small fraction of the amount of bottles, plastic waste that we generate each year.
Wow.
We are north of 800 million a year. So even though I do want to sort of congratulate Jamaicans for taking advantage of the 300 or so cages that were placed and generously filling them up with plastic
Mm-hmm.
and giving us the problem of feeling overwhelmed, the fact is we have a long way to go. That we really want to collect nearly all of that 800 million. And so on our side, we need to be more aggressive in putting out the plastic cages in more locations for people to contribute their plastic and to be more efficient in being able to clear them in a timely manner. And on the citizen side, you know, the the 85% of plastic bottles that we are not already collecting, we need to go far away into collecting those.
Wow. I want to talk about innovative and creative ways that we could maybe, as moms, research and look at with plastic. So if we're not giving the bottles to the Recycling Partners of Jamaica or sending them into the different agencies that collect, what kind of real activities can we do to recycle, upcycle? I know that plastic can be used for many things, can be used for furniture. What else do you know of? Like, how creative can we get with some of the plastic at home?
But the uses that we're seeing are actually quite impressive. Uh, I mean, the most basic one is, when it goes into the cages and we collect it and we bale it and we send it to our recycling facility that flakes it and reduces it to plastic sheets that are then used to create new bottles and new material. We know that all of the plastic that we collect at Recycling Partners of Jamaica is recycled.
Mm.
So it goes into new bottles, it goes into other kinds of plastic containers. But we have seen applications where it is used to create clothing. Recycled plastic is used to create clothing. We have seen applications where recycled plastic is used to create a wood like material that is then used to make furniture, you know, planking for patios and outdoor furniture and fences. And that actually has an advantage over wood because not only does that preserve the forests,
Hmm.
but it's termite resistant.
Yeah.
So you kind of get a win-win-win all over with that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
a lot of creative uses are out there.
This is exciting. I think it was Shade Cole and Travis Recycling, and I had bought a piece once, and it's an outdoor furniture, Damien. And for moms, if you're
Hmm.
looking at outdoor recycled outdoor furniture, these two. were able, I think they put the plastic bottles inside and cover it with cement, something like that. Damien, have you seen their work? It's
No,
amazing.
I haven't seen that in particular, but I'm going to seek it out now that you've alerted
Yeah,
me to it.
because what happened, it got damaged when I was traveling, moving to another home in transit, and then I looked and it was full of plastic bottles, full of plastic bottles. That's what it was made of, and that was fascinating. So I think it's a whole new industry and sector there for the creatives to find a way. So I'm encouraging moms to come up with ideas at home with your children, like what can we make with this, you know?
Absolutely, and there are a lot of ideas online. Just put it into your search engine, and you're going to see dozens of ideas coming up. It's a great idea.
Yeah, and if you're watching right now and you have a great idea to share, drop a comment and let us know what we can do with plastic bottles at home. So, how is the rest of the Caribbean doing? When you compare Jamaica's response to this effort, how are we looking?
Well, at this stage, I think Jamaica is furthest along in the English-speaking Caribbean, but I don't say that in any kind of competitive way, because the only reason I know that is the degree of interest that what we are doing in Jamaica has gotten in the rest of the Caribbean.
Hmm.
And everybody else is really trying to get up to speed as quickly as possible. So there is a much greater appreciation now of the importance of this effort, and everybody is trying to get on board.
Excellent. What if we have a business place and we want to ask for a receptacle? Is there a way to apply for one if we are in a busy area? Are there still
Absolutely.
receptacles available to be placed?
Hmm. Contact Recycling Partners of Jamaica, and you will speak to somebody who's going to get the details of your location, and we'll try to get a cage to you as quickly as we can.
Sounds good. Tell me about the deposit return scheme and how people
Yes.
can register.
Okay. So the deposit refund scheme requires is sort of not operating on an individual basis. It's not really there for somebody who has had 3 drinks and wants to get paid for those 3 bottles. So it operates on a kind of a wholesale basis. We pay at the rate of 50 Jamaican dollars per kilogram. So you have to take that to a recycling center, one of our recycling depots, or one of our redemption centers. And if you are previously registered as a recycler, then the amount of money that you've equivalent to the amount of bottles, plastic you've brought in, is going to be put on your payment card. And then you can go out and use the payment card. So it's a kind of thing that somebody could really do as a small business. As an own account worker, you sign up as a recycler, and then you go around and collect plastic and bring it to the recycling depot or redemption center.
Okay, so you're listening. We got to get together, mamas, and see how we can get that $50 per kilo, right?
Absolutely.
All right, so we can show our children ways to make a big difference at home and away from home with these small choices like looking at the bottom of the bottle and disposing it in the right place. So we really need to have more of these conversations. We're not having them enough. And so I want to encourage all my Caribbean moms in all the countries to really advocate for recycling and inspire our kids to recycle. So
And
yeah, go ahead, Damien.
yeah, I just want to add to that that is why I think this particular forum is an important one, because the start of this exercise of getting people into the habit really is the home.
Mm,
It is, and this is why the moms are critically, because one of the things that moms and dads ought to be teaching their children is to take personal responsibility for what they do.
mm-hmm,
In the same way we ask them to keep their desks tidy and to keep their rooms clean, and to you know not leave their when they do some work, not to leave it messy for other people to clean up. This kind of personal responsibility is the same personal responsibility that needs to be extended to plastic waste, and plastic waste in particular, because it doesn't decompose.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You toss a plastic bottle in your backyard and you come back in 1,000 years time and it's going to be there.
That's
So, so it's an
scary.
exercise of personal responsibility, and that's why the home is the place that this message has to be transmitted. So
Yeah.
this particular channel, this particular forum, is important, and so I'm really glad that you invited me here.
I'm excited. I think there's some inspiring things that children can do, and I can't wait to see what the moms come up with. And this could be an entrepreneurial dream and activity for a child to advocate in their school and community and see how they can drive this charge to collect bottles and make $50 a kilo. You're an economist. We could make a lot of money for a
It
household.
adds up.
It
It, it,
does
it
add
it
up,
adds up
right?
quickly. And it's particularly useful if institutions can get on board. So if you're a church, then we'll put a recycling cage in your church compound. All the congregants can come and contribute, and the money goes to the church.
Yeah,
So it's really a good way to take advantage of any institutional setting that has a natural constituency to bring in some extra money.
that's a great
And the
idea.
institution doesn't have to do anything other than call RPJ, get signed up as a recycler, because after we put the cage, we're the ones that come and clear it.
Mm-hmm.
So free money.
That's a great idea. So let's see. We got churches, we have schools, we have beaches, anywhere where people are gathered, there's an opportunity to call the Recycling Partners of Jamaica and make sure that you get a, what do you call it? Not a skip, what do you call it?
A cage,
A cage.
a
It's a cage,
recycling
a
cage.
recycling cage. So, what about when you were growing up quickly? Just a reflection. As a child,
I
this
can't remember
wasn't.
that far back.
I don't think these things were even on our mind, you know? Maybe we're the ones that created this damage. So we have to reverse now and fix the damage because I'm sure, I don't know. Do you remember this wasn't a big
No,
conversation for us? Climate,
it, it,
environment.
it, it wasn't a big conversation because plastic was not as ubiquitous
Mm,
that you occasionally would still get drinks in glass bottles,
yes.
and the plastic revolution just had not exploded the way it has. So even though the permanence of plastic was still a problem, it was a small problem. Now we know, after oh more than a half a century of plastic, that there's no corner of the earth that plastic does not wash up on or get buried beneath. And it's affecting every aspect of our natural and personal lives. It's a crisis, and the time has come for us collectively and individually to do something about it.
Excellent. I'm also encouraging our moms to get the children to write stories about recycling. Find books that speak to these characters who are recycling. And these are the kinds of books that we probably need to look at adding to our children's libraries and getting them to become recycling superheroes and put on a play at home. Our Jamaican children love to sing and create songs. Maybe you challenge them. If you write a song about this, you get this. So I think it's going to be an exciting journey if we can get moms around the world getting their children to create messages as recycling advocates and sharing it across social media. We could really see the change happen. We have to get everybody to
It
buy
is
in.
it is Empress, because most of the people who are not on this train are people who just simply haven't thought about it. But once the message reaches them, it's hard for anybody to have a counter argument.
Mhm.
And so, what you're suggesting, that people include recycling and the problem in their media messaging and in their creative activities, will simply spread that to more and more people. Excellent idea.
Yeah, well, let's do this. What does the Recycling Partners of Jamaica need, Chairman? The chairman always needs something. I know I've been in that position where we need things and we need people to buy in and we need all kind of investment and support. What does the Recycling Partners of Jamaica need? Because maybe a mom is listening right now and is able to assist.
We need moms to practice it in the households. The kids need to grow up seeing it happening in the household, to see the two separate containers, and to see the mom or the dad dropping off the plastic at a recycling center or at a cage nearby, as part of their experience growing up. And then when they grow up, they will do it too. And we need the parents and the children to spread the message.
Yes.
So they can also suggest it to their school or their church or their strata association or any community of which they are a part.
Yeah, great idea. I remember driving one day, Damien, and somebody threw something out the window, a bottle, and here my son must have been about 5 or 6. Mommy, why them a dirty up Jamaica? At that time, the
Hmm.
campaign, the dirty up Jamaica, please don't do it, was out, and my kids were hooked on that. And because I
Exactly.
complain when I see it, I mean, I wind down my window and say, "Why y'all do that? Why y'all do that? When I
As
mash
do
up the
I.
country." So my kids respond the same way now. So they do. Children live what they learn, okay, and children are
I'll tell you a
watching.
story, and I'm somewhat proud. You know, I was in the car one day, and the car in front of us, somebody threw a plastic bottle out the window. My son was sitting beside me. He got out of the car, he picked up a plastic bottle, and he threw it back in through the window.
Oh my gosh, I love
So,
that child. I
absolutely.
love that child. Well, that's your child there. We love them. Little advocates for recycling. That's what we want to create across the Caribbean. I mean, there are other countries that are doing a lot better. And so I think that we are so big and bold and popular in so many other things. Let us bring recycling up so we can say, yes, we're great in music, great in athletics, and great in protecting the environment. That would be
Empress,
amazing.
you mentioned that we're a proud people, and if we can create a clean environment,
Mm.
something that when we ourselves move through it, we can feel that sense of pride because we have kept it clean. Not to mention when visitors come,
Yeah,
because that's an important part of our economy,
yeah.
then they too see that we maintain a clean environment. That's something that Caribbean people should want to be proud of and should want to take part in this exercise.
Excellent. Yes, I mean I'm for it. It's kind of like for me it's like the Olympics. You understand? We're going up against Germany, Austria, Switzerland. Yeah, we're coming. South Korea moms, we're coming. We're coming. We want to be listed as one of the top 10 recycling countries, Jamaica, and I'm sure the other Caribbean countries want that too. So that's what we're advocating for here on Caribbean Moms. A quick reminder now, Chairman, of the website and the social media pages. So when we're recycling, we could tag you and show Recycling Partners of Jamaica that we're on the advocacy train.
All you need to remember is Recycling JA. The website is recyclingja.com. All the social media accounts are at recyclingja.
Easy. Easy as one, two, three. All right,
We're trying to
Caribbean
make it
moms.
easy.
Yes, I want to thank you for taking the time out to sit with me today. And we know that this is an important message, and this is where education begins using these platforms and for us moms to take it home now. So I'm excited, and thank you for your leadership, and thank you for the work that you're doing to protect our beautiful Jamaica and, by extension, the entire Caribbean.
Thank you for having us on. It has been a thrill to have access to this forum, and I've enjoyed this chat.
Yes, thank you. And all the best to your wife who has to put up with 4 children. The three she gave birth to and the one she married.
Indeed.
All
Take care,
right. Thank
Empress.
you, Damien. Okay, bye bye. CaribbeanMoms.com is an online community for Caribbean mothers, providing expert insight, advice, support, and conversation. CaribbeanMoms.com has produced podcast series dedicated to moms in the region, providing them with expert advice on things that matter most and a helping hand for the woman doing the most important job in the world. I'm Empress Golding, and we plan to relieve some parental stress and have some fun along the way as we support and celebrate moms.